Hello, besties and bosses. How are we doing? I am going to just hit refresh here to make sure I can see your comments. Otherwise, I don't see them, and I definitely want to be here to respond and reply, and I want this to be valuable for all of you. So hopefully I can pull this up while I'm chatting. A big hello. I want to check in. How's everybody doing? Since our world is on fire, I always want to acknowledge. I feel like sometimes it's just really weird to talk about business things and act like business and life are going on as normal when for many of us they are not. So I just always want to acknowledge that. Feel free to let us know how you're doing. I know that's something I'm having a lot of conversations with clients around, is how to navigate the feels, the emotions, how to share your voice, how to be of action, how to also make sure you're taking care of yourself and your nervous system. So please feel free to use this space to share any of that. And I also just want to acknowledge that, check in with all of you. And today we're gonna have a great conversation. We're gonna talk about 9 years of coaching, multi 6 and 7 figure clients, and some of my biggest takeaways. So this past Saturday, March 1st, I celebrated 9 years in business, which is crazy. One of the things I was reflecting on Instagram is that it both feels like forever. 9 years is double the length of, I think, like the average most businesses stay open or stay in business. And it also feels like I'm just getting started. And I love that about my business. I love that about the work I do. I love that about being a one-on-one coach and really committing to this, is that it both in many ways feels like, oh my gosh, I've been on over 5,000 one-on-one sessions, probably way more than that. It's like a very conservative number, in the trenches with my clients. My first client scaled to $1 million my first year in business. So I've just been in the coaching trenches, working my craft, seeing what works in business, building my own business, helping clients scale to multi 6 and 7 figures for 9 years. And business is always evolving and changing. We're always evolving and growing. I think the craft of coaching, and I think of business as both a strategy and an art, that is something that is ever evolving as industries do. And so I love that about this work in this business, that I am both an expert and a beginner at the same time. I have both been doing this for what feels like forever, and I feel like I'm just getting started. And I really love that about this. Anyway, Alyssa says, congratulations, we share Business B-Day months. Oh my gosh, I love that. I have a couple other clients who do as well. It's a good month to start a business, and that means congratulations to you as well on your birthday, business birthday. I love that. So I was just saying, like, I love also that we just get to, and I reflect that because I think sometimes we think in business we're gonna like hit a place where we arrive, and I don't know, maybe that'll happen at a certain point, but I honestly hope it doesn't, because I think once we get to that sort of mindset, we tend to get complacent, or we stop leaning into the growth edges we all have personally. But also I think so much about business, I talk about this a lot with just messaging and marketing, and just in terms of innovation and technology, but also with just how we're showing up. The online space is always changing. If we stay stagnant, then we become I always use this example, but we become the Blockbusters of the world, and I know none of us want that. So I think that is what is exciting, and that you can both become an expert in something and fundamentally know how to make money and how business works, and be an expert master coach, and forever be evolving and growing. With that, though, I thought a fun way to celebrate would be to take you behind the scenes to some of the takeaways I've seen from coaching clients at and to this level for so many years. I think I was reflecting on this when I wrote the email for this live stream. My business from day one has always been about my clients. It has always been about coaching. I didn't start this business. There's nothing wrong with starting your business because you want to escape corporate or because you don't like what you're doing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I have plenty of clients who start their business because they don't like corporate, so I'm not knocking that. However, I didn't start this business because I was necessarily trying to run away from anything. I started this business because I genuinely love the art, the craft, the strategy of coaching. I spent 10 years acting. I always believe you can make money doing what you love. That was my thing. And when I stopped loving the business side of acting, I really fell in love with coaching, and I fell in love literally with business. I know some of you might think that's crazy, but I love business. And so my clients and one-on-one, like, that has just always been, like, my business from day one hasn't been about me. It has been about coaching. It's been about my clients. And I have been offering one-on-one from day one. I have offered pretty much every other business model, which is why I love being able to support clients in other business models. Some of you might know me. Some of you have been in this group. For those of you watching now on the replay, you'll have to tell me who remembers the Grit Lab, my membership that I had, and who remembers the foundation, the group program I had. I sold a couple of different courses. Anyway, all that is to say, I've definitely tried and dabbled in different things, but I've always come back to one-on-one, and because I know it works, because I know it is the thing that I am the best at in terms of the best way I can support clients, but also because I have supported clients to $1 million plus since my first year in business. And so I've been able to see with those different offers and with those different business models, not that it is wrong if you have a different business model. Again, I have many clients who have different business models because it really works for them and their strengths and their audience. And knowing that I support clients to build sustainable businesses and to make not only great money, but to make great money on their terms in a way that really supports their lifestyle and their family and the way they want to live, right? So they have that sustainability and that freedom. I have just seen how, because I've tested all of those different models, one-on-one, the reason I stick with it, the reason I come back to it is because my business has been about my clients from day one. And I have just seen that as the best way I can support my clients to get bigger results. It's why a lot of my clients make more money than me, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And it's not that I couldn't sell something else or make more money from something else, or that, you know, a different program wouldn't be valuable. I have just seen this as the best way to be able to do that. Great program names. Alyssa, thank you, Alyssa. I appreciate that. I thought so at the time. But let's be honest, the Grit Lab, let's just love on early business Kim a little bit. The Grit Lab is because I'm so obsessed with the term grit. For those of you who don't know, that's the passion and perseverance towards a long-term goal. I mean, I think it's what we need in business, but from a business-minded person who's all about messaging and positioning, I today would never, ever name something the Grit Lab that is not encompassing the results someone wants to pay for. I'm shocked that so many people signed up and joined that. But it was a fun membership while we had it. Anyway, I digress. What I wanted to share with you today, and so what I thought in terms of, like, I want to celebrate obviously being nine years in business. I think that's a big deal. I think it's really easy for us as high achievers, I talk about this with clients all the time, to kind of gloss over celebrations and to skip over them. And I think it's actually really important in terms of anchoring that into your mind, but also when we celebrate something, it helps our brain to get addicted to wanting to do more of the things that created that success in the first place. I shared this on Instagram. Side note, for any of you, I have, from literally my first year in business, one of the first workshops I ever did was on the power of celebration, basically celebrating your way to more success. If you want access to that, I pulled that up for someone on Instagram. Just leave me a comment here or DM me. This isn't like a mini chat thing, so just give me a second to pull it up, but I will send you the audio. You can hear Baby Business Kim audio from that, and the playbook that has the journaling prompts I still use today to celebrate wins. They're really powerful. So just comment or DM me and I'll send that to you. But what I want to dive into today is some of the biggest patterns I've seen from my clients that I've coached to, or who are at reoccurring 20K months to 115K cash months, and what actually moves the needle and doesn't. Obviously, we're not going to cover everything today, but I've been in the trenches one-on-one with clients, so I do have a firsthand, like a front row seat to these things. I'm going to share what my highest earning, most sustainably scaled clients have in common. And this isn't to mean that my clients who are starting out in business don't also have these traits, but if anything, I think this can help you see, oh, I also embody that. That means success is inevitable for me, or oh, this is a place where maybe I could lean in a little bit more that will help me get more of that success. We're going to talk about some of those mindset shifts and tweaks my clients have really leaned into that separated them from plateauing to be able to scale past 100K, 500K, $1 million in business. And then if we have time, I will actually chat a little bit, because I know some of my clients wonder this sometimes, is how I feel, honestly, about the fact that a good portion of my clients make more money than I do. And that might be relevant for some of you, because many of you will have offers where you're working with people who make more money than you. And then if you have questions or you want to know anything specific, throw them at me. Alyssa says, sure, I'd love to watch that. Okay, great. I'll send that to you, Alyssa. And then, she says, love that, Frank. I'm so glad. I appreciate you so much. Also, if I start sweating on this live stream, sometimes I'm sweating because of nerves. I think it has actually warmed up significantly here, and I have long sleeves on. I'm just noticing that I'm starting to get very, very warm, and I don't have layers on. So we're just gonna call it how it is. Here's something I have noticed being in business for 9 years and making however much money I've made. You just start to give so many less F's about things that maybe I would have worried about. My first live streams, I probably was so concerned about having everything be appropriate, and now I'm just like, yeah, I'm sweating. That's okay. Y'all don't care, and if you do, I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Okay, let's talk about some of these, the biggest patterns. So I went through some of my clients and just thought through these things, and I wanted to kind of pull the bigger picture, things that might just be easier to latch onto, as opposed to they had this kind of offer, they had this kind of strategy. And the reason for that, and this might be just the first pattern to think about, I know you have heard me say this so many times. I really want you to understand this is not me saying this because it's a fun tagline. This is me saying this because I have lived this myself, and I have watched this pretty much every day in my business one-on-one for now 9 years. And that is, there truly is not one path to scale. And trying to fit into someone else's path is the quickest way to usually F yourself up. And there is not a formulaic way. There is not a, like, what worked for this person is going to work for me. Truly, 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 every single one of my clients who has scaled to 250K, 500K, 700K, 800K, $1 million plus in business, they have all found the way that works for them, and they have leaned into support, absolutely, but they haven't leaned into support thinking, I'm going to do what Kim does and have Kim's business model. I have very few clients who want my business and business model. I have a few clients who do, and they are still doing it their own way and in a very different way. Most people don't want the business I have. I am not interested in coaching clients to be mini-me's, and I honestly think if some of these clients I'm thinking about had tried to do what I did, whether that was my offer, whether that was my messaging, whether that was my strategy, they wouldn't have the success they did. What they really leaned into was allowing for us to have a coaching partnership. And I'm saying this to you, never work with me, but just thinking about the coaches you work with and how you're leaning into your support to really support them to pull out what was right for them, the right offer, the right model, the right strategy to fit not just them, but their values and their lifestyle. And I cannot stress enough how important this is. I feel like I'm always talking about this, and I think sometimes it sounds really fluffy, but if you're trying to squeeze yourself into someone else's offer model strategy and it isn't aligned for you, it doesn't feel right for you, it's not what you actually want to do, it is just really tough to keep showing up for that for the long term. I've literally coached clients out of their business models into something different because they were doing something they were told to do. And that was the thing that was basically creating some success, but making them hit a plateau or a ceiling. So I talk about this a lot, so I won't go overly into that one, but Alyssa says, yes, that's finally sunk in. I'm so glad to hear that, Alyssa. Like I think it's tough, and I appreciate you saying that, Alyssa, because I think what that brings up for me is, I think for so many of us, especially when we're not in air quotes there where we want to be yet, it's just so easy to think that someone else has the secret or someone else knows better. And it isn't that coaches and mentors and programs can't be incredibly valuable and can't be incredibly helpful to show us what's possible or to show us different strategies that work or to give us the options, right? I definitely will help clients see, like, these are the different options you can choose from, or like, here's how this might work. It's not like I'm like, hey, good luck, like, figure this out on your own. That's not coaching. But what happens is when we're so looking to someone else to have the answer, to have the secret. It's why I had a podcast called One Question for 200 episodes or 195 episodes, right? Is because I know the answers always live inside you. When we're looking to someone else for the answer for the secret, we're just always going to sell ourselves short. And that is just not the path to really big results for anyone. What happens in our online space is someone finds their path that is different, right? They have a differentiator, and then they're like, this worked for me, and then they package it up and sell it to you as the way. And it's not that isn't right or true. It's just, we just always, even when we like someone else's offer strategy model they're teaching in a course, we just always want to be mindful that we're still taking what works for us and applying it to our business, to our values. Okay, I won't hit you all over the head with that, because we talk about that a lot in this group, but that is just something I saw kind of a common denominator across everyone. Okay, I think this actually links into this one really well, and this might just be validating for many of you to hear, because I think so often we think we have to choose, like, either our values and what we want in our life or business success. I think a lot of the more, y'all know, like, I kind of actually like the bro marketers, but the more like bro marketing side of things can make it seem like you just have to be like Alex Hormozi, who like works 24/7 and is like massively obsessed with his business, or you can't have success. And I think there's a middle ground for most of us. But what I have really seen for all of my clients who have just created success at that level, and what I've coached them around, right? This doesn't mean that this is always easy for them. Like, we've had to figure this out, but they've really taken the time to get clear on their values and to really protect their values and their time and to build their business around that instead of the other way around. And I think that is a part that sounds really amazing, but that a lot of us don't take the time to do, and that we don't take the time to really get clear on what's actually important for us, right? And instead, we're just thinking, what's the quickest way to make money? And that will make it really tough, because then you're building a business around like then everything else has to fit the business instead of your business fitting everything else. And so if I'm thinking about one client who scaled to $1 million, one of the things that was really important to her was family and family time and being done at a certain time to spend time with her family. If we hadn't known that and prioritized that and built the business around that, there's a million different paths to $1 million, right? I mean, it doesn't always feel that way when we haven't reached it, but there are so many different paths to reach a goal. But understanding what was most important, those values are or decisions are a values clarification. So when we're making strategic decisions in business, when we know our values, that helps us to make those strategic decisions that clarify that value. Does that make sense, or does that feel like weird coaching lingo? I can break that down more if that doesn't make sense. But essentially, I'll like high level, when we make a decision, when we're in indecision, or we don't know what strategy to pick, or what offer to pick, or what model to pick, it's because we aren't clear on our values. When we are clear on our values, both our values in our business and both our values outside our business, it becomes really easy to make decisions and to make strategic decisions because all decisions clarify our values, right? We filter our values through those decisions. And so when it feels like, oh my gosh, there's